It's July 1944, and Major Charles Carpenter is returning from a spotting mission in Normandy in his Piper L-4 Grasshopper. As soon as he lands, an order comes in to immediately drive to the front lines and scout for an airstrip.
Copy that.
His yet unnamed fighting Grasshopper, with bazookas strapped under its wings, will have to wait for a taste of combat. In a jeep, Carpenter speeds through the French countryside, as close to the front line as he can. Coming round a bend near Avranches, he spots a platoon of 5 M4 Sherman tanks. They're in full reverse, all the while under heavy fire. Carpenter frowns. He'd been flying above this countryside for days and hadn't seen any German force large enough to push back the Americans. Carpenter guns the accelerator to get closer. The Germans have control of a nearby town and have the Americans pinned. The US forces are in disarray as 88mm rounds slam into their positions. Carpenter brakes sharply and the jeep skids to a halt. He runs towards the tanks and into a ditch. He's not alone. Taking cover, US infantry are already there.
What's going on?
The soldier explains that they tried to take the bridge going into the town, but were met with an overwhelming German response.
There's hundreds of them.
That can't be right. It's got to be a German trick.
Spurred into action, Carpenter waits for an explosion. Then immediately jumps out of the ditch, heading for the lead Sherman, climbs on top and gets hold of its 50 cal machine gun, loading it, ready to fight. The tank commander yells at Carpenter.
What the hell are you doing?
Carpenter shows his wings and explains he's been flying over the positions and knows that the Germans can be beaten.
I'm sure there's not that many. Let's go.
No way, flyboy. We're not going anywhere.
You either move, or I'm gonna shoot you.
The commander weighs up his choices, shot by Germans or Carpenter.
Oh, hell. Let's go.
He makes a decision and the Sherman tank roars to life and pushes towards the bridge. The other tanks follow with Carpenter on the 50 cal in the lead.
Ricochet, keep moving. Push forward.
As they approach the bridge, MG-42s strike up, peppering the American tanks. Carpenter immediately returns fire with his 50 caliber. The tank commander shouts out the bearing to the gunner. Carpenter feels a jolt as the tank's turret moves underneath him. Inside, the gunner brings the machine gun nest into the center of his gun sight.
On the way! Fire!
The Germans quickly abandon their position just moments before a 75mm shell hits the machine gun nest and explodes, turning it into a crater. At such close range, Carpenter is hit by the blast and the wind is taken from him. But mustering his strength, he gets on the 50 cal, forcing the German machine gunners to take cover. They peer out to fire back, but are met by the Sherman's 75mm cannon turning towards them. The gunner presses the firing switch, and a high explosive shell is propelled out of the 75mm gun.
Hell yeah, that did it.
Load it up. Get another shell on the breeze.
Carpenter lets the Browning sing as the 5 Shermans roll onto the bridge.
Forward, to the town.
Carpenter feels the thrill of the heat of battle and is shouting orders to the tank crew. He assumes a position of platoon commander, and the tanks obey his orders.
Could be an ambush.
Rounding a corner with a shell at the ready, Carpenter yells,
Let her go.
The Sherman fires and the shell strikes a building at the end of the street. With the tanks rapidly approaching, the Germans have no choice but to abandon the cannons.
Clear. Keep moving.
Under the command of Carpenter, the American forces sweep through the town.
Secure those abandoned guns. You got it, Major.
They find the 88mm guns abandoned by their crews.
Tanks, spread out.
The town isn't completely clear though, and Carpenter
Sweep
is
the
driven.
outskirts. Make sure no enemies are lurking.
He leads the Sherman around the outskirts and spots a tank in the field ahead, and doesn't hesitate.
Tank, fire!
But as soon as the words leave his mouth, they turn to ash, as he sees the target he's spotted is an American Sherman tank.
Belay that!
He starts to shout, but before he can speak, the gun beneath him fires. There's lead in Carpenter's stomach as the shell flies across the air towards a friendly tank. A Sherman bulldozer tank with a plow attached to the front is hit. The shell hits the demining plow and with incredible luck causes no damage to the crew. The battle draws to an end, and as the adrenaline starts to subside and the realization sets in that he shot a friendly, Charles's mood darkens. The platoon commander, spotting Carpenter, orders his men to arrest him.
Fool! You could have gotten us all killed.
He's brought back from the front lines and placed in a military prison. Awaiting trial for a court-martial, Charles is told that he could face the firing squad. But instead of being shot, Charles earned a Silver Star under the direct recommendation of General Patton, who said that Carpenter was the type of soldier that he wanted in his army. In September, Charles is flying on the outskirts of Arracourt. His humble spotter plane now has considerably increased its firepower, with 6 rockets attached under its wings. Charles has christened his plane with a name more befitting its firepower: Rosie the Rocketer. The radio is flooded with reports of German counterattacks. An entire Panzer division and 2 Panzer brigades are pushing forward and overwhelming the Allied positions. But Charles can't see any of it underneath heavy fog.
Clear up a little.
Finally, a hole in the mist appears, revealing a column of German Panthers advancing directly towards Allied headquarters. He can even see Americans hiding in a river as the enemy advance looms forth. He immediately jumps into action and plunges from the sky, headed straight down towards the lead Panther, aiming for its thin roof armor. The Grasshopper is almost vertical as he reaches for his firing switches. Rapidly approaching the ground, he flicks 2 of them. 2 rockets fire off the tubes. They power into the earth right next to the lead Panther with 2 thunderous explosions before Carpenter pulls up from his dive, right above their heads. He looks back. It's a miss.
Es ist einer von diesen verrückten Spähern mit Raketen.
The Germans raise their small arms and open fire at Carpenter's L-4. Bullets whiz past his canopy, and a couple of holes are punched through the wings, but they do little against Rosie the Rocketer's fabric construction. On the ground, stranded Americans are surprised by the explosions, and they have a front seat view as they watch the spotter plane turning back for another rocket run. But this time, the Germans are ready. They take cover behind their armor and open fire upon Carpenter. Bullets crack all around and more holes are punched through his plane, but he's undeterred, jinking left and right as much as he can to throw off the Germans' aim as he barrels down towards them. He flicks 2 more switches. The 2.3-inch high-explosive anti-tank rockets fire off their tubes and directly towards the Panther, slamming into its roof. The tank immediately starts to smoke. The crew inside know they're done and quickly exit the tank just as flames surge out of the hatches. That's 1 down, but there's a lot more to go. Carpenter pulls Rosie around in a turn for 1 more run and instantly faces a deluge of bullets. More holes appear in his wings as he sets his sights on a half-track, with enemy fire pinging all the while on Rosie's fuselage. Charles feels a patter of impact, but he has faith in Rosie.
Come on, old girl.
Takes aim and fires. The half-track explodes into a ball of flame. Watching from the distance, the stranded Americans quietly celebrate the heroic Grasshopper, but Charlie is forced to fly off, out of ammunition. He makes it back to base, and he and Rosie return with a full load of rockets. On the ground, the American soldiers are amazed as they see Rosie coming back into the fight. Charles fires at a half-track that goes up in flames. Then, a second Panther. The once terrified men that were hiding in the river now excitedly tally the victories as Charles fires the last of his rockets into the Germans. And is forced to fly off again, but even more rockets. Carpenter rearms a second time. Now more of the fog is cleared and enemy movements are starting to become visible. He can see Panzer IVs stalking up behind 4 US M18 Hellcats. In a rush, he dives into the attack, flying above the Hellcats as he goes. He hurriedly takes aim and fires off 4 rockets into the formation of Germans.
What is he? Enemy behind us. Turn around.
Carpenter smiles to himself as he sees the Hellcats turning their turrets as he flies off and the battle kicks off underneath him. Thanks to Charles's actions, the Hellcat platoon spotted the surprise attack and the German column was stopped in its tracks. Later that evening, the 6 American soldiers Charles had saved slipped into the dark and returned to safety, where they gave a full account of what they saw that day. The engagement earned him the nickname that he carried for the rest of his life, Bazooka Charlie. The plane was lost at the end of the war, being sold off as surplus. That was until 2017 when Joe Shale, an aviation enthusiast, found that Rosie the Rocketer still existed, hanging from a ceiling in an Austrian aviation museum in civilian colours. The museum had no idea that in their collection was the most famous L-4 Grasshopper of them all. The Collings Foundation acquired the plane and set out to restore it to its wartime glory. The now fully flight-worthy L-4 even has its original paint job and is on display in the American Heritage Museum. The Rosie the Rocketer nose arc was completed by Major Charles Carpenter's granddaughter.
Charlie saved our behinds, but it was still not an easy fight. Watch this film and see what happened after he flew away.